Hey everybody, Casey here with Life Abstract Gaming, and this week I wanted to take a look at some of our most beloved and favorite things in media and why they might be well regarded, but only through the lens of nostalgia. All generations share fairly common traits as they pass through the phases of growing from children to adults. Regardless of what the in-style culture fad was for that time, there will always be kids who love it and their parents who don't get it. Those parents will roll their eyes and maintain that in their day things were better. Now that some of us kids are reaching our parents' age then, a lot of that same dialogue is coming back around. Have you or any of your friends been caught saying things like, blank is ruining my childhood, or this new whatever isn't as good as the version I grew up with? I'm also guilty of it myself, but why do we feel this way even knowing that we're following in the footsteps of the older haters of yesteryear? I'm pretty sure I've said this before a couple of times, but nostalgia is a powerful force. It's defined as the sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past. It can be applied to pretty much any and everything a human can experience, but when it's applied to media, the things we listened to, watched, and played growing up become sacred artifacts that can never be disrespected unless we take up arms to defend them. But sometimes the things we feel nostalgic for may not be for the reasons we think. Namely, their quality is what I'm calling into question. There are songs, games, and TV shows that stand the test of time by virtue of being amazing pieces of art. And the people lucky enough to grow up with that art become defined by it, leading to a strong nostalgic feeling towards that stuff later on. But why do we still get nostalgic about stuff that isn't that amazing? The best example I can pull from is the 80s and 90s era Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon. Like many of you, I grew up watching the show and loved it to death. I had the toys, I played the games, and to this day, I'll bop my head and sing along to the intro theme song. But over the last several years of seeing new iterations of the characters popping up over and over again, it's been made clear to me that the original show actually sucked.
Alright, Buster, hold it right there. There ain't enough room in this town for 5 mutant turtles.
Oh, yeah. There's only one boss turtle. Me.
Oh, gee, that was my favorite bow.
Awful voice acting, stupid plots, and bad puns are littered throughout the show. At its best, it's comically bad, but at its worst, it's just boring. The entire show was slapped together for the sole purpose of selling kids toys, as a lot of cartoons in that era used to do. And compared to the dark and bloody comic source material, it was a complete and utter travesty. But 9-year-old me didn't care about any of that. What I remember was watching the show with my 4 brothers and picking which of us was which turtle based on their personalities. I remember going to Chuck E. Cheese's to play the arcade game for TMNT, where the 4 of us would select our corresponding turtle and fight together instead of one another for a change. And if you're wondering, yes, I was Michelangelo. There's yet another reboot for this property coming, and the comments are what you'd expect. You canceled the last show for this? Big mistake. 2012 took a bit of getting used to after having loved both 87 and 03. Where's the complete set of this? But even 2012 looks way better than this does. Cartoons today are truly going down the drain. Kids nowadays don't get to see what great cartoons are. Except kids today do get to see what great cartoons are. There are arguably better cartoons on today and in recent years than most of the entire eras we grew up in. But that's a whole other argument. The thing we forget is that these shows are primarily aimed at kids. When they transcend their intended audience and hint at deeper meanings, jokes, and meta concepts, that's just icing on the cake. I've talked about Teen Titans Go before. I loved the first version of the Teen Titans cartoon, and early commercials showing Go really put me off before I actually watched it. The only reason for watching it, though, was because of my son who loves the show. The same way I identified my brothers with the Turtles is what he does with the Teen Titans. According to him, he's Beast Boy, I'm Cyborg, and his mom is Starfire. He looks at these sillier versions of the characters I loved on TV, and he sees his family, just like I did as a kid. There's a good chance my son and his generation will be nostalgic for Teen Titans Go the way that we are for the 80s Ninja Turtles. The truth of the matter is nostalgia paints anything it touches in such a rosy haze that our opinions on them can't really be trusted. But that doesn't invalidate them completely because opinions are never something that should be taken as absolute. The misconception that any work of art can be considered objectively good or bad is actually preposterous, because there's always going to be somebody somewhere that either loves the thing everybody hates or hates the thing everybody loves. If there's a friend or reviewer whose taste you trust, you'll likely weigh that opinion much higher than others, but it still shouldn't completely overwrite your own personal feelings. So maybe just see for yourself in most cases. So, is there any media you're nostalgic for that you know for a fact wasn't that good at the time? Is there any medium out now that you hate for being different from the way things were? Let us know. We're listening.